Blog Talk Radio. Greetings and welcome to the Sales Sense Reality Talk Show with your host, Mike Krause. Mike has sold over $100 million in sales and offers Fortune 500 strategies, tactics, and tools to sales professionals and business leaders. He created this show with one thing in mind, for sales professionals to share their secrets with each other. Join us every Wednesday at 12 to 12:30 Eastern Time, or sign up for updates on Mike's mailing list at salessensesolutions.com. Mike appreciates you listening and wishes you good luck on your next sales call.
Well, welcome. It's Mike Krause with the Sales Sense Reality Talk Show. Thanks for taking time out of your day. I'm really excited to have Angel Tucker. She's an expert in personality profile who has been speaking professionally at venues across North America for the past 20 years. Her dynamic presentations empower people with the ability to read personality types within 60 seconds. This valuable insight can give her audience the tools to succeed in self-improvement, bettering relationships, effective parenting, and job advancement. As a CHBC, she has helped tens of thousands of people create a win-win situation in every aspect of their lives. She is also an award-winning author and the creator of the Four Pals Children book series. Her nonfiction book entitled Stop Squatting with Your Spurs on how with communication without pain by understanding different personalities will be released in October, and we're going to talk about that at the end. Angel, without further ado, how are you today?
I'm wonderful. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, yes, I'm excited. You know, it's always a personality profile. I'm always fascinated to know more about that because it's twofold. For sales managers interviewing people, as well as sales professionals kind of looking at their prospects. So can you tell the audience a little bit more about yourself when it comes to personality profiling?
Well, sure. As you mentioned, I've been doing this for 20-plus years, and you actually covered everything pretty much in the introduction, and it really is fascinating. And when people find out what I do, they either have one of two reactions. One is what you just said, which is interesting, I want to know more. And two is, now I'm afraid to talk to you. They're afraid that
Exactly.
I'm profiling them, which I am as I'm speaking to them. And so it really is a powerful tool, Mike. You hit the nail right on the head with that in both areas that you just mentioned, both for hiring, and we have tools that are available to people that are in that type of position, and also people that are in sales. And really, you don't have much time to make a quick first impression or to build instant rapport with a potential customer. And through the tips and tricks that I teach in my book, that's the type of thing that we give you the power to do in a very short period of time.
Absolutely. And again, you hit the nail on the head, too. You have milliseconds nowadays, especially with Twitter and social media. People are very in tune to those first intro seconds, and that you need to be, what I call the 3 Ps, professional, prompt, and prepared for that call, because then your prospect is already drawing conclusions of how you're going to behave during the sales process.
Right. In fact,
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, in today's society, years ago we used to make our initial contact face-to-face, and it was a lot easier to use personality profiling because you can actually physically see someone. But now with technology, 80% plus of people are going to the Internet to make a decision on who they're going to use. And so you have to really know how to use this over the phone and on the computer and be able to know what someone's personality is just by the way they send you an email in order to build that instant rapport with them. So technology has added actually extra challenges in some respects.
It really has, and I'm always fascinated by that technology really helped us or hurt us in the sales process because it's so long now in the selling process to get people engaged. You said something very interesting there, and I want to go back to it. With an email, you can read people. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
You absolutely can. And here's what people need to understand about personality types. Now, first of all, the system that I use is the DISC assessment system. There's about 100 different systems out there, but DISC is very easy to understand very quickly and be able to apply it. So that's why it's the system that I use. And so each of those letters, D, I, S, and C, represents a personality type. And we're actually a blend of all four of those personalities. But 80% of us are really comfortable in two of the four. So we're really dominant in two of the four. So the key is to figure out what someone's dominant personality is so that you then can predict what they need from you to create the win-win situation, and you can speak their personality language. And that's what I teach, is how to be bilingual in personalities, because every personality hears things differently and processes information differently and sends emails differently. And so if you know what to look for, then you know, hey, this is this personality type, and this is how I need to respond back to them in order to gain them as a customer or to build their confidence in me. Because if you don't understand this, what we tend to do is to answer that person the way that we would have wanted been answered if we were the one sending the email. And, you know, that's great if it happens to be someone that's the same personality type as yourself, but what if it's not?
Absolutely. You have to mirror, that's what I try to help people understand. You have to mirror the personality in the sales process. And this is such a powerful tool.
Yeah, absolutely. And a good example would be, some people say, well, what do you mean by that? Well, one example is two of the personality types are very bottom line. They don't want information that they don't perceive as valuable right at the moment. And if you try to give them information that they don't perceive as valuable, you're going to lose them, and they consider it a waste of time. So if you're a personality type that likes details and information and finds value in knowing things, even if you don't need to know them now, you might need to use them later, and so you want to know everything, if that's your personality type, then you're going to tend to email people, for example, in that same style. And if it's a bottom line person, you've already lost them because they have no interest in knowing all of these things. They don't find them important at the time. And so that's just one example. You know, if somebody's emailing you and they're being very brief and they're not asking questions, they're telling you what they want, you know, just little things you need to recognize. And if you do, then you know how to respond in the way that that person needs you to, where they know that you understand them and that you're going to be a good fit for them.
Absolutely. You have to match their personality in the sales process. And I see a lot of times the sales professional stumbling and trying to, quote, unquote, do it their way. And I said, you know, this person is a bottom line person like you just mentioned. We need to be bulleted, and we need to have a summary right there and ready to go. Don't go in there and talk a big presentation with these people. They're just not going to listen. They tune out.
Exactly. Yeah, they don't want long proposals. They want summaries. And what I tell them is what they really want from you is to be brief, be brilliant, and be gone. That's really what they want.
Nice. You know, I like that.
If you could understand that and provide that for them, then they know, hey, this is a person that values my time, understands how I operate, and someone that I want to work with. And not only that, when we gain customers and we have that rapport, guess what they send us? More customers. And so it's all about creating that residual base where you're not always having to go out and obtain new customers all the time. Let your current customers do the work for you. Have them singing your praises. And that, you know, makes it easier to get that business.
Absolutely. I can't agree with you more. What are some things, what you use the DISC personality assessment, but what other tools do you use? Are you just strictly with DISC?
Yes, all the tools revolve around the DISC assessment system, and we have various tools depending on whether you're using them for hiring or whether you're using them once you've already hired to keep your employees motivated, because the different personality types are motivated in different ways. Some of them need public recognition, and some of them just need to know that they have job security and that they have benefits for their family. And so if you don't understand their motivator based on their personality, then you may be trying to motivate them the way that you would be motivated if it were you. And again, if you're dealing with a personality that's different than yours, you're really not going to have the effect that you're trying to have. And so, excuse me, we have, for example, Hiring. We have personality assessments that are vital when you're hiring new people in your office. Just because someone can interview well doesn't mean they're capable of doing the job. You know, they're just basically could be telling you what they think you want to hear. Doesn't mean that's really their strong points. And so we have personality assessments that are, of course, non-biased. They're done on the computer. Your potential employee answers 24 questions, and it's going to send you a report on that person via email that lets you know what their real strengths are and what their challenges are and what they're capable of and what they're not. And I tell you, it's invaluable to get these ahead of time and, you know, hire the right person versus hiring the one that interviewed best and then training them and then having to fire them and start the process all over again. And so, you know, for the $60, it's well worth to get the assessment, and that's for the 48-page assessment. We actually have a smaller one that you can use as well. But, you know, that's just one example of the tools that we provide.
Wow, that is a very good value. I just tell people they should always take some sort of assessment because, as you know, Angel, and I and everyone else listening, is it's so expensive to hire, train, recruit, and then to get rid of the person. It's cheap money for $60 to have this done.
Exactly. It's definitely a great alternative because if you think about it, you're really spending a whole lot more of that, not only in time and effort, but in payroll, trying to train this person just to ultimately, you know, have to get rid of them and start the process all over again. And I have particular companies that I train for. I train all over the country, and I have particular corporations that hire no one without doing an assessment, and the retention rate of those companies is unbelievable. You know, it's less than 1% turnover in those companies that are utilizing these tools.
Oh, wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, it really, really is. It makes a huge difference.
Angel, let's back up here so that I always want to be conscious of, because you and I know what DISC is, but maybe some listeners do not know what DISC is, and it's been around a while. Could you break it down into the different personalities and how they have their own language and kind of walk us through what DISC is?
Sure, I'll be happy to. Well, the D stands for dominant, and if you think of the person that is the go-getter, tends to be a little bit bossy, wants things done their way, they're outgoing, and they're very bottom-line communicators. These are the ones that time is money. Don't waste my time. Let me get moving. They're multitasked, and they get bored very, very easily. And then I stands for inspiring. And this is another outgoing personality. They also get bored very easily, but these are the ones, instead of being task-oriented like the D, these are the ones that like to have fun and be the life of the party and just be involved in any action. They want to go and do and be everywhere and do everything, and tend to be a little bit more absent-minded and forgetful in nature, and tend to be disorganized. And also, bottom line, they don't like to receive a lot of information. And then, contrast to that is the S, which is the supportive. And if you think of kumbaya, that perfectly describes the S because they're peacemakers. They do not like conflict, and they're more reserved, but yet people-oriented. They enjoy being around other people. And the biggest challenge for S's is to make decisions. Even everyday little decisions that are easy for other personality types are very difficult for an S. And they are not bottom line. They are A to Z. They like information, but they want it easy to understand, okay? And then the last one is the C type, and C stands for cautious. And if you think of any scientist, professor, engineer, all of those are going to be C types because they're 4 levels deep thinkers. They like information. They tend to be perfectionist in nature. They're more introverted. They're also task-oriented like the D types, and they don't take things at face value. They're always digging for the truth. And so that's your 4 personalities there. And 80% of us will say, yeah, I fit comfortably in this one and that one. And that's the way that it should be.
So you should fit into two of those boxes then.
80% of us will. Sometimes people are level. They're even in all four. And sometimes they're really high in one and very low in the other three, But usually, once I give someone a brief description like that, they can tell me, which is their most dominant personalities.
Yeah, absolutely. I know where mine is right now. So,
so what is it going to be, Mike? Are you going to share it with the world?
I'm a D. I'm a D. Unfortunately, I'm a D. And I have some I in there. Yeah. So, and actually that goes into a good question. So I'm a D, and let's say I bump into a C. How are we going to effectively communicate? And I have sold to engineers, and they're definitely a C. And what are some things that can help the sales process through?
Well, and this is a lot of the stuff that I talk about in my book, but if you're a D and you're dealing with another D, the important thing is to remember that you're going to see eye to eye with them pretty quickly unless you have a disagreement. As long as you both see eye to eye, you're going to get along with them very well. They're going to understand your bottom line, straightforward nature, and so you're going to be fine. Just remember to stick with the facts. If there's issues, stick with the facts and not get into personal conversation about each other, just to stick with what the facts are. And if you're a D dealing with a C type, for example, you have to remember, slow down, allow time for questions, give them time to think, because they're not going to make a quick decision the way that a D type would. And this is a huge mistake that I see salespeople making is usually salespeople are usually D's or I's. And so if they have a customer that's an S or a C and that customer is not moving quickly, then they make the assumption that it's not a serious customer, when in fact it's the most loyal customer of all. But the challenge is you never got them as a customer because you wrote them off too quickly. And so, again, it's all about understanding what personality type you're dealing with so that you know what you can expect from them and what they're going to need from you to create that win-win situation, which in that example would be gaining them as a customer.
Absolutely, and that's one of those things that I try to always help other sales reps with is slow down, ask the questions, and peel back the onion, because there's a lot of times, you're right, most sales reps are D or an I, and they're driven, and they just drive right over those great prospects. I mean, I see that all the time. Just to slow the process down and engage that client. And if they want information, give them the information. We all learn at different paces. There's no question about that.
Right, and Mike, unfortunately what some people do is, when someone keeps asking for more information and more information and more information, if you're a D or an I type and you don't understand that, you think this is such a waste of time. But really, it's an investment of time, and that's the way you have to look at it, because those are the most loyal customers of all. And once you get them, you've got them for life, because D's and I's will use a different person every time they buy or sell something. It's the S's and the C's that are loyal, but you have to get them in the first place. And once you get them, they're going to send you all their S and C friends. So, then you've got even more customers coming your way.
That's true, and I can cite some examples in my mind is that, the people that, and I just actually did a little webinar this morning on value and how to create it, and it's the ones that, if they don't object up front and they're just kind of going along, I go, that's going to be your worst client, because they haven't seen the value, and then they're going to have problems at the end, because then they're going to try to get out of things, or it just wasn't explained correctly, and it's just a mess, and it's the people that slow the process down, ask the great questions, and are there for the clients that are the top salespeople. There's no question about that. What kind of resources do you have to help people use this tool of profiling?
Well, as you mentioned, my book is coming out. It's actually just been, we're doing pre-sales on it now. The official release date is November 9th, but people can get it now, and it's called Stop Squatting with Your Spurs On. And then the subtitle of that is The Power to Read People, Get What You Want, and Communicate Without Pain. And just in that one book alone, it will give you so much information on what to look for, physical characteristics, hand gestures, speech patterns, body movements, and it's written in a very, because I'm a DI as well, so it's very direct, but yet written in an entertaining way. There's lots of stories and examples and life experiences from the tens of thousands of people that I've trained in the last 20 years. And so get a hold of materials like that and read them. And I tell you, it's a lifelong learning, Mike. You can't just read one book and know it all. It's something that you have to constantly study and review. And once you start doing that, you'll realize that everything in your life has to do with your personality type. The way you wash your hair, the way you deal a deck of cards, shake hands, wash clothes, everything has to do with your personality type.
Yeah, absolutely. And some personalities manage each other and some do not, oil and water. What inspired you to write the book? And kind of walk me through what inspired you to do this?
Well, as far as the book, now I already have the children's books out, and those are award-winning, and they teach kids how to profile, which is just phenomenal. And I wrote those because nothing else existed like that. There was only one other book in existence that was written by my co-author, and the earlier kids can understand this and really accept people for our differences, the better adjusted they're going to be in life. So that's what inspired me to write the kids' books. And those will actually be a series. And for this book, it's been in the back of my head. I've had the title for many, many, many years. I was in a town called Pensacola, Florida, and I saw it on a billboard for a sign company. I saw the title, Stop Squatting with Your Spurs On. And I said to myself, and this has been probably 15 years ago, I'm going to write a book one day, and that's going to be the title of it. And so recently, I was in New York, and I was meeting with about 100 different producers for television shows and radio and all that. I do a lot of media like this, and so I was meeting with about 100 different ones, and what I found was the big ones, the Today Show and Regis and Kelly and all these, they said, well, do you have a nonfiction book? No. Okay, well, then we don't consider you an expert in your field. Well, as a D, that's all I needed to hear.
Oh, wow.
So I left that. I wrote the book in less than 30 days and got it published, and we have the same publisher as Robert Kiyosaki that does all the Rich Dad, Poor Dad and all that, and all the Chicken Soup for the Souls. Mark Victor Hansen's books, we're all using the same publisher, so very exciting. And we're actually offering that book right now for 40% off until the 26th of October to get it on a bestseller list. And so when people go to my website and order that, they'll get it for 40% off. Plus, they'll get one of my seminars for free on MP3, and there's a couple different ones that they can choose from there. And so, that's a great thing there. They just go to StopSquattingWithYourSpursOn.com, and they'll see the button to click to order the book.
Wow. One of the things, thank you for extending that offer. I appreciate that. When we talk about what else is in the book that a sales professional can gravitate towards and instantly use in their day-to-day activities, what are some things that they could use from the book?
The easiest thing for salespeople to use is speech patterns, because it doesn't matter whether you're on the phone or whether you're in person. You can observe speech patterns. And so how is the person speaking? Are they speaking quickly, or are they speaking more slowly? Are they taking time? Is there gaps between the time that you ask them a question and the time that they answer it? Or are they answering immediately and at a fast pace? And so if they're speaking quickly, that means they're either a D or an I. And both of those personalities are bottom line, and they get bored very easily. So that's so important for salespeople to understand. And if they're speaking more slowly or kind of hesitating before they answer questions, then that means they're either an S or a C type. And so they need to slow down, make sure that they're not speaking quickly. They need to, as you mentioned before, mirror their speech patterns. So they need to slow down, they need to allow time for questions, and they need to be prepared to provide detailed information to that person and to know that they're going to need time to make a decision, that they're not going to make quick decisions. So that's the easiest one to observe is speech patterns.
Yeah, absolutely. I wish everyone would observe speech patterns. There's no question about that. I love studying body language. Can you speak a little to body language? Is it addressed?
Oh, sure, absolutely. And when it comes to body language, the easiest thing to observe is hand gestures. And so, I mean, your body, people are constantly giving you signs that let you know what their personality is. You just have to know what to look for. But we really don't get in a whole lot into micro gestures. We try to teach main gestures because they're a lot easier to read, like the hand gestures. Mm-hmm. And so how is someone using their hands or not using their hands? If they're talking with their hands often, then they're going to be a bottom line person. They're going to, again, fall in the D and the I category. So now you know the same thing as with the speech pattern. Move quickly. They're going to get bored easily, so keep them busy. They're multitask. They can handle lots of information at one time. And they're very quick to spend money. And then if they're not using their hands at all, or they're very reserved in their hand movements, then they're going to fall under the S and C category, and it's going to be the same list that we gave you, before. And these customers seek quality over quantity. See, D's and I's are motivated by status and prestige. You just have to let them know how doing this is going to make them look good to somebody else. But S's and C's is all about family and safety and security. And so if you go in telling an S or a C, hey, you need to buy this car because Tom Cruise has one just like it, guess what they're thinking? Who cares? Tell me about the 5-star safety rating, you know what I mean? And so that's the type, you have to understand, and you can figure all that out just by watching the way someone moves their hands or not.
Absolutely. It's just reading and observing and just being aware of your surroundings. Your prospect is telling you things, and there's been so many times when I'm out doing one-on-one coaching that the salesperson is not paying at all attention to the prospect or client, and you can see how uncomfortable the prospect or client is because they're not on the same page. They're just not on the same page, and it's from an outside point of view, the third party there, it's kind of funny to watch because you could see it unfold, and you can also see the prospect getting very upset because they're not being recognized. Like you mentioned, if the D, it wants the price, and the prospect says, well, hang on, the sales rep says, hang on, let me show you some more things. That, I've seen the prospect blow up. They blow
exactly.
up. Exactly.
Yeah, and you actually,
price.
Yeah, and you actually, Mike, just named the biggest challenge with using profiling, and that is paying attention. Because what happens, in order to use what I teach, in order for it to be effective, you must pay attention to people from the very first point of contact, whether it be on the phone, whether it be in person, through email. You must pay attention. Look for the cues. But the challenge is, who are we usually paying attention to? Ourselves.
And so, yes.
Yeah. And so you have to take the focus off of you and what your agenda is and what you're trying to accomplish and what you want to say next and put it on the other person. Then that's hard. That's so hard for people to do because, we go in thinking, okay, I'm going to talk about this and this and this, and then I'm going to say this, and then I'm going to wrap up with this. But you're not focusing on what that customer needs in order to give you what you ultimately want, which is to gain them as a customer.
Absolutely. They're not listening. And if you listen and you look, sales is very easy. If you ignore those two things, you're going to have a very difficult career. There's no question about that. Well, I definitely have learned a lot, and we only have a couple of minutes left. Can you share a little bit more about your website and some services that you offer to the listeners, and we'll close it out with last thoughts.
Absolutely, yes. Definitely visit the website, stopsquattingwithyourspurson.com, and that will also give you an opportunity to go into my store where we have just probably hundreds of different books and CDs, and that's where the personality assessments are. And just because they came in from your show, they'll automatically get a 10% discount at checkout. And so please take advantage of that and check out the new book. Make sure you get that at the 40% off. And I do speak internationally for corporations. And so if anyone's interested in having me speak for their group, there's a Contact Us page on my website as well.
Well, thank you so much. I love talking about personalities because it's just like some people always ask me, well, Mike, what's a great sales book? I go read psychology. Go read a book on personality because it's very easy to, like, there's a lot of books out there on sales, how to handle an objection, how to do this, how to do that, how to prospect, but there's not a lot with the personality one. So I strongly encourage everyone to buy this book. I know I'm going to go on right now and buy it, and because I always want to learn more about personalities, because that's what sales is about. It's about personality and matching yourself. And you can save yourself a lot of time if you understand what the other person is thinking. And that's the Angel's point here, is you have to know, you have to concentrate your call on them, not on yourself. So, any other closing remark, Angel?
Well, as a bonus, the book will also, if they're married, help them tremendously in that relationship, because what we tend to do, Mike, is marry an opposite personality of ourselves, but yet we then try to speak our language to them, and then we wonder why they don't understand what we're saying. So just as an added bonus, if any of your listeners happen to be in a relationship, definitely get the book just for that reason alone. It's going to change your relationship with your kids, with your spouse, with anyone that you have a relationship with. It's not just for sales.
Absolutely, and we're all in sales at the end of the day. Going to your point is, if you're in a relationship, you're in sales. You're selling it to your spouse or significant other all the time. So, I mean, there's no question about it. So, well, thank you so much, Angel, and I wish everyone online good luck on their next sales call, and tune in next week at 12 o'clock Eastern Time. Thanks again, Angel. Have a great day.
Thanks, Mike. Okay, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye.